Hello! The new cycle of Stygian Onslaught dropped this morning, so just like usual, I will try to beat the fairest difficulty with the least amount of 5-star units I can and give some tips on the way. And as always, none of the 5-star units have constellations, no one is using 5-star weapons, and the battle pass weapons are not allowed. So without further ado, let's get going right away. We start with the absolute worst creation Hoyo ever came up with. I genuinely have no other words to describe it. If you have Nod-Krai characters in your team that deal lunar reaction damage, this is easy as hell, it's a massive joke. But if you don't, everything has been tailor-made to make your experience a nightmare. Anyway, we start the run immediately using Mawika's skills so we can generate some Night Soul while the boss stalls. Then we group the chickens a first time to the middle of the room with Kazuha, and after getting Mawika's skill back, we Bennett Burst, vacuum the chickens just in front of the boss, that helped me a lot with keeping them grouped during the combos, and then we just do the standard Mawika melt combo with the animation cancelled finishers. And this might not look like much, but finding a rotation that allows me to consistently defeat these chickens in one rotation was actually the hardest part of the fight, by a significant amount. The dog itself isn't that bad, you just do your little melt combos. I decided to not do the more difficult variant with the charge attack before the burst because I'm not comfortable doing it with this team comp, and I knew I had enough damage for the dog. Once again, the main difficulty was really just getting the chickens down in one rotation, so I was more concerned about consistency than pure damage. As for team comps, well, honestly, I don't really know. It's day one, and it was already a nightmare to defeat with Mawika, so I'm not too hopeful for Nod-Krai-less C0R0 teams, but I'm curious to see what people come up with. Anyway, we just keep doing as much damage as we can, and if everything goes right, he should summon the chickens again at around the 25 seconds mark. Once again, we first group them to the middle, and then we once again set up in front of the boss, apply our cryo with Sitlali, and thankfully we kill the chickens pretty fast here, allowing us to squeeze in just enough damage to the boss with the rest of our uptime before the timer runs out. For the second boss, we have the return of the good old Fatui Shock Trooper, which has the exact same mechanics and HP scalings as last time, so it's basically just a repeat of it. Obviously, if you have an FR Flames, or even Columbina, the fight will be very easy. Otherwise, you can use a good Electro carry in an Electro Charge team, that's what I'm doing here with Varessa and Xingqiu, or you can brute force the fight with either a strong carry in an Overload team, or even pure damage nuke characters like Skirk. I also want to point out that if you're really good at the game, there are some tight Overload setups that allow you to constantly stagger the boss so it never puts his shield. I've seen people do it with Mawika and Arlecchino, but I haven't been able to replicate it. I kinda spent too much time against the Lunar Dog and then I had to speedrun the last two bosses, so I just used good old Varessa here. Anyway, talking about this Varessa team, the main thing here is that since literally all of the characters in the team have completely different cooldowns, and Varessa doesn't really lock you on field for extended periods of time, we need to pay extra attention to cycle through our abilities properly so we can keep full uptime on everything. Oz, Jansen's buff, snapshot the buff on Fischl, and go back to Xingqiu to use his skill from time to time. Anyway, I don't really have that much to say here, so while the rest of the fight plays, I guess I'll just ramble about the cycle. I do not like this Stygian cycle. There's a bunch of Stygian bosses that were very innovative and fun, like the Hera with the Elemental Infusion mechanic, the Field Generator with the Plunge buff, even the Ian Blight was pretty fun, forcing you to split your damage between different elements, but this cycle is just really cringe. The Lunar Dog is the worst boss we've ever seen, the Crab is super easy with Neuvillette and super cringe without him, and the Shock Trooper is fine I guess, but it is still pretty restrictive. Anyway, we kinda messed up the last rotation, but we managed to defeat the boss. And finally, we have the Crab. And as I said previously, it's very easy with Neuvillette and very cringe without him. And while usually I try to clear with just the least amount of 5-star units possible, this time I decided that playing Neuvillette against the Neuvillette boss was a bit cringe, so I tried to defeat it with Mualani instead, even if it's a higher cost team. For the team, I went with Escoffier because Moalani plus Escoffier is really good against this boss, since most of your damage will come from the small crabs which are permanently infused with Pyro, so you can get full benefit from Escoffier's resistance shred, while still vaporizing all of your hits. Also, the fact that it's AoE allows you to do 4 bites per skill on Moalani instead of 3, because you can get your stacks faster if the mobs line up correctly. For the last slot of the team, I got a faster clear time with Mona, but since my Mona is C3, I thought technically it breaks the no constellation on 5-star units rule, so I decided to use Yolan instead. As for other teams, I've seen people clear it with Skirk, she's pretty good here. I've obviously seen a lot of clears with low-cost Novelette teams, and that's kind of it. I've seen some clears with Colombina, but let's be honest, if you have Colombina, this is probably not the boss you're using her on. And yeah, I just looked up at YouTube right now and I didn't really see anything else. There are most definitely other teams that can clear it, even at C0R0, but I guess we have to wait a bit for people to figure it out. Anyway, let's come back to our Mualani clear. There's not that much to say about the rotation, but I do want to point out one cool thing, which is that I struggled clearing it at first when I had my normal set on Escoffier, but then I actually found that Scroll is pretty good here. 12% damage bonus for all of our Hydro damage is nice to have, so I gave her a Roran's artifact and got the clear. Anyway, that's it for the video. It was really not a very fun Stygian, probably the worst of all time in my opinion. On the flip side though, I'm wondering if Dire is clearable at C0R0 again. I do think we will see Dire C0R0 clears, although the team comps will not be very innovative. Probably just Nefer Lama Colombina on the Lunar Dog and Novelette Farina on the Crab. But anyway, that was it for the video. Hope you enjoyed it. I wish you good luck on your Stygian clears, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!